Hi guys, welcome back. This is Caroline. In today's video, I'll be showing you how to paint 6 different types of autumn trees, where I'll be showing you step by step how to paint them and then the different colors that I'll be using to achieve these autumn shades. So let's get started. To show you the basic shape of a tree, it usually comes in a shape of a cone. And then we have the tree trunk right in the middle. And for the first tree, we will have the leaves branching out like so in different sizes of a V shape. And then we will have our first tree painted in red. For this here, I'm using Senneliers Rose Storm Metallic. Otherwise, you may use any red that you already have on your palette. So we will start painting in tiny little strokes using the tip of the brush and then forming the V shape on the trees. And then the second color that I like to add in is brown pink, and this is a dirty muddy yellow that we have. And then grabbing that brown pink with a second brush, and I'm going to drop in these colors onto both right and left ends of the trees, and that will give a nice transition of red into a bit of yellow in the tree. And going back to the first brush, I'm adding in the rest of the red leaves in an almost V-shaped form to the tree. Take note where the center of the tree trunk is, and then the leaves will be branching out from both sides. Now that we have our leaves painted out, let's grab some of that dark brown, and I'm using sepia. We will paint in the center of the branch. And let's add some tiny leaves at the bottom as well. To complete the composition, I'm going to add a bit more tiny strokes of leaves onto the ends of the trees. And then with sepia, I'm drawing in broken lines onto the tree trunk, especially on areas where there are white spots in between. That will help to make it appear as though the trunk is behind the red leaves. Next, for the second tree, we'll be going with trees which are thicker as compared to the first tree. And again, we will have it in a cone shape like so, with more curvy, rounded ends. And then take note where the shadows are, they will be applied towards the bottom of each bunch of the tree, and as well as the center portion where the main trunk is. This tree will be painted in yellow, so starting off with yellow paints, I'm going to add in the leaves like so, just like how we did with the first tree. But then here I am pressing down a little more onto the belly to create bigger strokes, keeping in mind to also leave some white gaps in between. And then halfway through, let's add in the tree branches. By doing so while the yellows are still wet, we are able to get some of the browns bleeding out into the yellow leaves. That will create a very nice soft effect. The main purpose of this video is created so that you can have fun and paint along with me, where I'll be guiding you how to mix different colors to get lovely bright autumn trees, and also painting different shapes and sizes of autumn trees that we can see in nature. If you find it a little challenging to paint along, I have another video that focuses just only on painting a tree, where I'll be guiding you step by step on how to paint a basic form of a tree from pencil sketch to applying the colors. And for this tutorial, we'll be using a cherry blossom tree as an example. And if you're interested, I'll have the link available in the card above or in the description below. Otherwise, for the purpose of this tutorial, I will not be diving into the basic steps on painting a tree, but more on just having fun and mixing different colors to paint in these autumn vibes. And I'd like to introduce you to a little trick. If you find that the yellow areas that we have painted have already dried out, what I like to do is grab a spray bottle like this one and then spray on the areas where the yellow leaves are. That will help to re-wet the area. And then mixing yellow with just a tiny bit of sepia, we're going to apply this in the shadow areas. If you're not sure where the shadow areas are, do refer back to our pencil sketch earlier, where the areas will be at the bottom of each bunch of the tree. And you can see that by pre-wetting the area, we are able to achieve this soft wet on wet effect for the shadows. Then going in with a stronger dark brown, I am redefining the tree trunk a little more. Let's extend out the tree branches around the leaves, paint them in broken lines. And then going back with yellow, I'm adding more tiny strokes of leaves like so to add more details to the tree. And I'm going to also add some yellow paints onto the ground to show some of the leaves which have fallen down. Then let's finish off with some splatters. For the third tree, we're going to paint a longer cone-shaped tree. And then we have the leaves coming out similar to the first tree where it is V-shaped. And let's paint them in orange and yellow. And I'm going to paint the V shape of the leaves along the main tree trunk, starting from a smaller V on top and then expanding it bigger as it moves downwards. And then let's fill in parts of the tree trunk with dark brown. To add in shadow, I'm using a darker orange. Here I'm using Cernelius orange, a more pigmented orange as compared to the first orange that we used. That will help to create the shadows of the trees. Let's extend out some of the tree branches. And there we have it, that's our first tree. And then let's paint another yellow tree with the same steps behind this orange tree. Since it is slightly behind and further away, I'm not going to add too much details to this one, but just adding a little bit of shadows with the mixture of a little sepia with the yellow. For the fourth tree, let's start with drawing out the tree trunk first. We will have big fluffy bunch of leaves like so, where every trunk that branches out has one bunch of its own. The shadows will then be at the bottom of each bunch of the trees. I'm thinking of going for a more brownish shade for this tree, so we'll be using the 4 colors of yellow, yellow ochre, burnt umber, and sienna. So let's start off with dark brown of sepia, drawing in the main tree branch and tree trunks. And here, grabbing some yellow, I'm using the entire belly of my brush to create this fluffy bunch of leaves. And then taking some of that burnt umber, I'm going to drop in the shadows at the bottom of each bunch. And then let's grab a more pigmented burnt umber to further darken the shadows. And just applying them a little bit at the bottom of the shadow areas. Next, let's darken the shadow areas a bit more using sepia. To give an interesting effect, I'm dropping in some droplets of water to create blooms around the leaves. And while the area is still wet, grabbing a palette knife, or you may use your finger or even the edge of a card, I'm going to scratch out the branches. This is another technique that I often like to use when painting trees. For the fifth tree, let's separate it into 3 layers like so, and then having gaps in between where we will draw in the tree trunks. And I like to have this tree in green color, so we will have yellow and yellow ochre as the highlights, and then adding in darker green and sepia for the shadows. And we will start off by painting in the tree bunch of the leaves with yellow, and using the belly of the brush to create fatter brush strokes like so. Once that's done, let's add in some brown pink near the shadow areas. Let's have the shadows on the left side on the tree, so we will have darker areas towards the left. And going in with greens, let's fill them in on the left side of the bunch. And finishing them off with greenish umber, which is a darkest green, applying them a little on towards the bottom of the shadow areas. And while it's still wet, I'm going in with sepia to paint in the tree trunks. This is all done in just 1 layer while everything is still wet, so that we can get this lovely soft transition of colors between the yellows and the greens. For the final tree, let's paint a maple tree. So this will have the shape of a mushroom like this, and then we will have the shadows around the end of these tree trunks, where we'll be using 2 colors of orange and red. Again, starting off with orange, I am painting in these tiny brush strokes like so. Be sure to leave some white gaps in between. And as we paint downwards, be sure to keep in mind the overall shape that we like to maintain, which is the shape of a mushroom. Let's darken the center area with a thicker And moving on to red, I'm going to drop these colors in towards the center of the tree. And as well as on the outer areas of the leaves. Once that's done, I'm going to give it a quick dry, and with dark brown of sepia, let's paint in the tree trunks and the tree branches. I'm going to have the tree trunks a little shorter than our previous tree because the nature of a maple tree is generally shorter. Let's add in more tiny strokes like so to paint in the details of the leaves. Next, I'd like to show you a different trick that you may try. Grab some of that cling wrap from your kitchen. What I'm going to do is just dabbing it on some of the orange and red paints and then apply them on the inner parts of the tree like so. This will give us an interesting pattern for the leaves of the tree. To finish off, I'm going back with my brush to complete the composition. And that is all for our last tree. For those who enjoy journaling, here's an idea for you. I usually like to cut out my trees in smaller shapes like this and then pick out some of my favorite trees and favorite colors, arranging them around on my sketchbook and treat them like little stickers on my book. I like to stick them onto my journal and decorate it with a few masking tapes. So yeah, there are many fun ways that you can do with this, or you can even cut them out and hang them on your wall. So feel free to enjoy and explore your creativity with this. That is all from me today. I hope that you enjoyed painting along with me these colorful, vibrant autumn trees. If you enjoyed this video, do give it a like, and I will have another video coming out next week where I'll be showing you how to paint some autumn landscapes in the mountains. And if you do not want to miss this out, do subscribe to my channel, and I will see you next week.